That's James. I'm Kyle. We're the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube, and we're going to talk about the Kings. You wrote down a ton of big questions facing the Kings this season.
I did.
And these are things that are not going to be answered tonight. These are things we're going to have to answer kind of throughout the season. But number one, this is the single biggest question of the year. There are more things, or there are team sport. There are so many things that are going to factor into the team's success. But the number one thing, if they're going to take that leap to 50 plus wins, playoff team, leaving no doubt, it's DeMar DeRozan and how he fits in. Oh, and that's going to be a months long process, probably trying to figure, not months, a weeks long process trying to figure out exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And early on, one of the problems that they're kind of having a little bit behind the scenes is that DeMar is trying to be too unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pushing him like, hey, man, we brought you here for a very specific reason. Like, you might not get 17 shots per game, but we want you more around the 14, 15 shots per game. That's what I'm hearing from, like, sort of the inside. That not only that, but his ability to get to the free throw line to slow down the game, his ability to go for 40 on any given night, and his ability to cook late in games. It has the ability to change everything. What you don't want to see is him try to fit in too much. Just go be yourself, and it'll all work out in the end.
We've seen him do this before. The 2020-2021 season in San Antonio took 15 shots a game and shot 49.5% from the field, and he averaged 6.9 assists. Like, there's a sweet spot there.
Yeah,
he's not gonna have the ball in his hands that much to shoot it 15 times and dish out 7 assists. That was a not great Spurs team, and it was a lot of DeMar DeRozan. But he can do both. But to your point, my thought was it was preseason and he was trying to get a feel for what the offense looked like.
Yeah.
And when the games count, he's going to go be DeMar DeRozan and kind of take over games when needed.
That's kind of the same way I feel about De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
It was just 100%. Like, hey, it's preseason. We're trying to work out some of the kinks.
Yeah.
But there will be a point, and maybe you can see it tonight, where DeRozan has a wide open 17-foot jump shot, and he can either rise up and take that shot, or if he takes one step in, the defense shifts out, and that's where he's looking to pass, right? You need to see less of those and more of him just like, go ahead and hit that 17-foot jump shot. You got really, really strong rebounders all over the place. If you miss, nobody's going to care. You're one of the great jump shooters in the history of the game. Go ahead and
he's
fire away.
He's not going to miss a lot of those anyways.
No, he's not. No.
It'll be interesting to see, though, because experienced player, super high IQ player, if that changes throughout the course of a game. Early on, maybe he does take that step in and kick it out to get Keegan Murray involved. Maybe he does step in to kick it out to get Kevin Huerter involved. But then late in the game, it's tied with a minute and a half left. DeMar DeRozan is not passing up an open jumper. You know?
No, I don't think so. I don't think. And the other thing is, like, look, if the Kings are going to be like maximized Kings offense, you need a guy like Jaden McDaniels to go defend DeMar DeRozan for stretches and let De'Aaron Fox cook. And that means that DeRozan is cooked to the point where they have to make an adjustment and pull their best defender off of one guy and put him on another, right? And so that's what you're hoping, because there's no one else on that team outside of Jaden McDaniels that can slow down, I don't think, that can slow down DeMar DeRozan. Maybe Anthony Edwards if he's really locked in defensively, but you're not going to want to do that because DeMar DeRozan's ability to get to the free throw line is like unmatched, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the great free throw grifters that there is in the league. And what you don't want to do if you're Minnesota is shift Anthony Edwards over there and have him pick up 3 quick fouls because, he had to go defend somebody.
Well, and you don't want him exerting that much energy defensively because he's going to have to do everything offensively.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what's interesting, too, about the Kevin Huerter thing, because I think in most of these situations, like if Anthony Edwards has got to go defend Kevin Huerter, that means he's got to chase Kevin Huerter all over the place. And it's just so much running that Kevin does. And so you're hoping that that's another way in which you sort of tire out a player. Yeah. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But I definitely feel like the Kings having, a guy like Keegan Murray who's just going to defend, hyper-focused on defending Anthony Edwards, just like Jaden McDaniels will be on, the other end. But Keegan Murray is a much better offensive player too.
Speaking of Keegan Murray, that brings us to question number 2.
Yeah.
Hang on. There we go. Question number 2. And you asked, can Keegan Murray take another leap? And this is both like a this year question and a long-term question.
Yeah.
Because how Keegan winds up developing here is going to change a lot about how Sacramento approaches the next 3, 4, 5 years. I kind of wonder if we're going to see a better version of Keegan Murray, even if the numbers aren't. I don't think we're going to see a statistical explosion where it's like, oh man, he's averaging 21 a night.
Mm-hmm.
But do we see a more efficient offensive version where he's maybe a little bit more aggressive while continuing to be a very, very good defender on that end of the floor? That's what, because it's just like that leap to me, the leap I've been waiting to see Keegan Murray make is reliable, like go-to scoring threat.
Mm-hmm.
We need a bucket, get it in Keegan's hands. He's going to put the ball on the floor and he's going to get to his spots and he's going to score. With De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan, I don't think there's going to be a ton of opportunities to do that. There'll be some.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how the course of a basketball game goes. But they're not going to rely on him to do that. So can he, in lieu of that, can he perfect that kind of 3-and-D role that he's going to take on? I know that sounds so limited, but ostensibly the 3-and-D role that he's going to take on, where, okay, yeah, he's shooting 40% from 3,
mm-hmm.
and he's guarding the other team's best perimeter player effectively night in and night out. That to me is the leap for Keegan. Give me 8 threes a game, shoot it at 40+%, and be an awesome defender.
Yeah, and like I don't want to make this like this comparison completely, but I'm going to point out, okay, so the player I'm talking about averaged 7.9 points per game as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
In his second year, 11.9. In his third year, 12.8. In his fourth year, 16.5. Right? And in year 5, jumps to 21, jumps to 25. And the player I'm talking about is Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a possibility that the offensive trajectory of Keegan Murray looks a lot like Kawhi's offensive trajectory, where early in his career, he's just a crazy lockdown defender. And as he gets more and more integrated into a system, he becomes a much more reliable offensive player. I think that what the Kings have done here with DeMar DeRozan is they bought Keegan Murray another year, maybe even at 2 years, where he can grow at a natural pace and get to be the player that you want him to be without it being forced. I do expect Keegan Murray to average closer to 18 points per game this year.
Sure.
I expect him to shoot closer to 40% from 3. But what I need him to do is settle into a position, settle into a role where he is expecting to get X amount of 3-point shots, where he's expecting these, to be part of what's happening. In the preseason, I saw multiple games where I felt like when he got the ball, he felt the pressure to be aggressive too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being aggressive is something that he needs to do within the flow of the offense. And so I'm hoping that the way that this offense is, free-flowing offense, that he finds the ball in his hands, that the Kings find him more often.
Mm-hmm.
And that way he'll grow like organically as a being, like having to force him into being a 20-point per game guy.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the Kings, the distance the Kings can go in the playoffs probably still depends on Keegan Murray's development. And it's going to be because of his defensive prowess, because he is such an elite 3-point shooter. If he really settles in and becomes, like a Chris Middleton type player right now, man, the Kings are going to be tough.
Okay, let me ask you this then. We get to the end of the year. We get to April, middle of April.
Mm-hmm.
We say, man, Keegan really took a leap this year. What does it look like?
Close to all NBA type defender, 6 to 7 rebounds per game, and 18 points with between like 38 and 41% 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'll get to the free throw line more. I think he'll probably get to the line 3 times a game this season, as opposed to like the 1 time per game that he has throughout his, like through his first 2 seasons. He's being pushed by DeMar DeRozan to be that guy.
Yeah.
Go get to the basket. Go like figure out a way to use your body to get a foul call.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's where they want him to be aggressive. And I think if he can do the little things, he shoots 1 more 3, 2 more threes per game, and he gets to the free throw line 3 times per game.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging between 18 and 20 points a game.
Yeah.
It's like that easy for him.
Yeah. Yeah. My greatest concern with Keegan as a player is that he views this as a backseat, where now he's not doing all the things you just said. And instead he's like, I'm going to stand in the corner and I'm not going to do anything except shoot the ball if it comes to me.
Yeah.
And that would worry me a little bit, at least long term. Like there needs to be a little bit more than that. Or if it comes to him and God forbid he doesn't shoot it.
Yeah,
like
there has to be a healthy balance.
That's not a prediction. That's just kind of, that would be my concern here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's all this upside to DeMar DeRozan being here, and you hope for that, but there's a part of me that worries that he's going to see that as okay, I've now been knocked down a peg among scoring options, so that super aggressive Keegan Murray we saw in the play-in game against the Warriors just never shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting here all year going, how does Keegan take 5 shots in a game? I can't have that. The other thing that for me, how many times did we see Keegan last year start a game 3 of 4 from 3 in the first quarter and then finish with 9 shots, or takes 8 shots in the first quarter and finishes with 12? Like, dog.
No, it's tough, but
you're getting, you gotta,
I know you do, but the problem is that when you've got, like 4 guys on this team that will go for close to 20 every single night, and you might not be one of those guys. Like, you got to figure out that De'Aaron Fox is going for 25 every night.
Yes.
DeMar DeRozan is going for 20, 21. Domantas Sabonis 20, 19, 20. But Malik Monk 15, 18. But he's pushing for 20. He's going to have a lot more 20s and 10s than, so he's going to have a fluctuating thing. But that means that there's so many scoring options here, and he needs to be part of all of that. And he needs to sort of like plant his flag and say, like, this is, I'm here too. But
I hope so.
Yeah. But at the same time, you can understand that there will be games where he doesn't take a bunch of shots. Just like Sabonis. There will be games where Sabonis doesn't take a bunch of shots. And if you're losing those games, then we have to have those conversations. If they're winning, then it's going to be a part of, the reality of the situation that there are a lot of good scorers on this team.
Speaking of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, you mentioned Fox can be a 25-point-a-night guy. Domantas Sabonis is going to be between 19 and 20. Do you foresee? And I'm gonna tie in. I'm gonna use this as an example here. We saw the when Steph Curry made his leap from, oh, he's just a guy, to like, oh man, he's really good, to MVP. You kind of you saw these steps, and then in 16 or 15, 16, there was just that meteoric rise where he was unanimous MVP, right? Do you see one of those leaps with Fox and Sabonis, where they've both all NBA caliber players? But is there a leap here where maybe Fox is 30 a night, maybe Sabonis is 22, 12, and 10?
I think that both of them have the capabilities to do it. I, in all honesty, I think if Sabonis jumped to 21, 22 points per game, the Kings are a much better team.
Yeah.
If Fox jumps to 30, I'm not sure that you're a better team.
Oh, interesting. Why?
And it's just tough because as a perimeter player, it's tough to be it's tough to be that impactful taking a leap unless you're able to take that leap and still be extremely efficient. And so, De'Aaron Fox shot it wasn't his career high, but it was close to his career high in 3-point shooting last year. I think if he can stay at that clip, that's great. If he can increase his free throw percentage, he's leaving a point per game just in free throw percentage. Man. I mean, like, straight up.
Yes.
And not only that, but I think he'll get to the line more times this year than he has in previous years. Like, I think there's easily a way where Fox can average 28 to 30 points per game this season, and he's going to be motivated to do so.
Yeah.
You have to remember that he's got
money on the line, man.
He's got a lot of money on the line. So if he gets up to an all NBA status again, he jumps to making 35% of the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a gigantic pay raise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm intrigued, but what I don't want to see is Fox go for 30, Sabonis go for 22, but the team isn't very good because you're not balancing out everything.
Yeah.
And so I think Fox does score naturally in the flow of the offense. I think there is some forced shots, especially like off the dribble threes and stuff, that really has to be cleaned up. But it really does depend on how the offense flows. If it starts flowing where it looks like they're, again, moving as one, then I think both of those guys can take tremendous leaps, especially if Sabonis stops hesitating and just goes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's the, you talk about the preseason. That's the thing I would love most to see carry over from the preseason.
Oh, yeah.
That offensive aggressiveness was like, oh my God, yes, light bulb.
I asked him about it.
I'm hoping that wasn't just a matter of DeRozan being a little bit more passive than he might be in the regular season, and De'Aaron Fox taking a back seat, so Domas is taking it on himself. I'm really hoping that that's what we see throughout the season, because you just said it, man. If you have 2 All-NBA caliber players, you should be in the playoffs, no doubt.
Yeah.
And to me, if that's the and it's like leap is a hard word, right? Because you can't like define it. But if that's going to be the last step, because to me, that's the last step Domas has as a player. It's like that's what he is this close to being maximized, and it's going and get it when it's there. Again, he's not going to change who he is and start averaging 3 assists a game and 20 field goal attempts a game. That's not what we're talking about.
No,
but a couple more 3-point attempts. When he gets the ball rolling down the lane, just going up strong with it instead of immediately looking to get rid of it. That's where you start going, all right, hey, this guy's averaging 22, 15, and 9 for a 3 seed in the West. That's where you start talking MVP. Yeah. That's where that kind of stuff comes in. And I think it's there. Like, and it's not that far. Like, it's not an unachievable thing. 30 points a night for De'Aaron, you're right. Maybe that is unachievable in the Kings offense, in the flow of their offense as it's presently constructed.
Oh, I think it's achievable, but I'm not sure that you're winning in that in that way.
Right. For Domas, it's like, dude, it's right there. You don't have to do that much different.
Yeah.
And that's what that is the biggest, to your point about De'Aaron and 30 a night. I think I initially disagreed, but the more we've talked about it, I think I agree with you now that if Domas becomes a 22 plus point per night guy, like now that's impacting wins on a greater level.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a guy who shoots 62, 63% from the field, scoring more, going in and getting more buckets, than a guy who's shooting at, sort of at his peak, 48, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the efficiency of it. And so, like, look, I did ask Sabonis about this during one of our media sessions during the preseason about sort of his thought process moving quicker. And he's like, well, yeah, I work on everything every summer. But what I took away from the good thing I took away was he doesn't realize that he's doing something different. He's just doing it. Mm-hmm. And so it might be something that's new and ingrained in him, like that quicker thought process where it's like, oh no, I got to go. Yeah. Like there's no hesitation. I need to go. And that's tireless work that he's put in with guys like Doug, with guys like Leandro Barbosa during the offseason, where they're working on all of these things. But I think the best coaching that you can get is when somebody helps you fix a problem that you didn't know you had.
Sure.
And they do it without telling you about what your problem is and trying to work through it. They just fix the problem without you really understanding that there was an issue. And that's really high level coaching, and it's really high level thinking for Sabonis as well.
I just received a phone call. Sorry, I just got distracted because it was from my area code and it just said healthcare above the phone number.
Well, that's not great.
That's terrifying.
Do you need to go take a phone call?
No, I don't. That's just that makes me very nervous. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they don't call back.
Okay.
That's when the anxiety really sets in.
Yeah, when they call twice within like 2 minutes.
It's my most millennial trait is that when I get a phone call, I immediately panic. Like immediate anxiety. Like, what happened?
That's funny.
It's like mom calling. I'm like, oh my God. Hello? She's like, hey, just wanted to say hi.
Just hi.
Like, text me.
That's funny.
So hopefully I'm going to go